So welcome everyone. I think we should start 7:34. So before we begin, let's take a moment of silence to in-gather ourselves and invoke Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So today I thought, uh, although to some of us it may seem like an abrupt change, but I think that's okay. And uh, these sessions are just meant to touch upon uh, lives of these sadhaks and disciples and devotees, and in a wish and a prayer that more of us would be enchanted to read and understand their lives more closely, and then we can take the exploration as we want, in our own silences and quietudes. So it is these sessions are not meant to completely finish one, like touching upon their life. So these are not supposed to be that. It's just like we can share information about each and every devotee disciple, and since it is like a vast ocean itself, each devotee, each disciple is a vast ocean itself, and we won't be able to do justice by thinking that okay, this is now winded up and then moving to next. So it's just like touching, getting a taste of their lives and getting inspired, and then to whoever, each his own. Then if we want, then we can involve ourselves in further studies and explorations and read about their works and whatever interests us. So today I thought maybe we could touch upon the life of Rishabhchand ji. Some of us may already know about his name. His name is not that popular, uh, like Champaklal ji. We just, like all of us knew that yes, I have heard Champaklal ji and Nirodha or Nalinikan Gupta, but it's like a bit introvert and not wanting the center of attention. And he is the person who wrote uh, Sri Aurobindo's biography. So I thought maybe that would be very interesting, and to know how about his own life, the person who is uh, taking the courage, taking the step ahead to write Sri Aurobindo's biography. So I thought maybe it would be nice to touch upon his life, and then I can share with all of us the biography that he wrote, Sri Aurobindo, His Life Unique was the name, and I can share with all of us a PDF of that biography later, which we can explore. So Rishabh Chandji, when I was just searching through resources on internet, thanks to internet, now most of the things are available. So I came across this Oroma's webpage again, and I'm sure there would be more material which we'll slowly explore, which was a nice introduction uh, on Rishabh ji. So I thought maybe we can start from here today, and then if we find more resources, we can take them on the journey later. So let us go through this essay that is there here from, it's written by Sunanya Panda. So let's go through this and then we can see. This is the biography that he wrote, Sri Aurobindo, His Life Unique. And he wrote it over a span of 10 years. So that was really very commendable, over a span of 10 years he wrote. Yeah, and I am also just exploring like all of us. It's not that I know more, it's just that whenever I want to touch upon any life, I do some research, and that's what I share with all of us. And it's not that I have read this earlier, so we are all in it together. So let's read this ahead. This introduction on Rishabhchand. Yeah, anyone who would like to go ahead, unmute and read is welcome.
Yeah, Monica, I'll go.
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Rishabhchand, the many-faceted life of a biographer. Over a span of 10 years, from 1960 to 1970, Rishabhchand wrote chapter by chapter the story of Sri Aurobindo's life. He was a dedicated sadhak and an erudite author whose own life was anything but ordinary. We bring you here a glimpse into that life and how the biography came to be written. Not many people have heard of Rishabhchand, and since he passed away 36 years ago, even those who knew him are now few in number. His name remains unknown to the younger generations because he was totally self effacing. He never sought any attention, any social group, or even any appreciation of the work he did. Even though he is the author of several books, there is almost no published material about him. The only source of information is the booklet brought out by his family members on the occasion of his birth centenary in the year 2000. There are many interesting aspects to his life, but the one fact that stands out in clear prominence is that he is the author of a biography of Sri Aurobindo. Before we speak of this biography, let us first throw a glance on the events in his life that led him up to the moment when he undertook this work. Rishabhchand Samsukha was born on 3rd December 1900 at Giagana. What is that, Monica? Giaganj
Gun.
in West Bengal.
Yeah.
Giaganj, okay. He came from a Jain family, and his father was known for his writings on the Jain religion. As he grew up, he developed a love for reading, especially English poetry. He studied at the Presidency College at Calcutta, but as it was a British institution, he left to finish his studies at Krishnanath College in Berhampur before joining the non-cooperation movement. It was in this spirit of non-cooperation that in 1926 he started a business dealing with hand-woven Indian silk from the various textile centers in his area. Even in the field of business, he maintained his innate sense of honesty and clarity. Thanks to his hard work and integrity, his business grew and eventually became the reputed establishment Indian Silk House, continuing even today to be very well. Although he was from a family in which Jainism was not only practiced, but also the philosophy behind this path was known thoroughly, somehow Rishabhchand felt dissatisfied by what it had to offer and was inwardly seeking a more comprehensive philosophy of life. At some point in his search, he came across the book The Mother by Sri Aurobindo. That was the turning point, and he was drawn more and more towards his ultimate guru. For 7 years, he worked untiringly to develop the business and to look after his wife and children, leading the life of a householder. Then he decided to leave everything and settle down at the ashram in 1931. Once he joined the ashram, he never went back. His sense of organization and his skill in dealing with workers were put to good use when him the responsibility of looking after the house maintenance service and later of the furniture department also. It is not generally known that he was the first person from the Jain community to join the ashram. Many others who were close to him and turned to him for guidance eventually followed his example and came to live in the ashram. In a way, he opened the door for others who came after him. He continued till the end of his life to be a guide and an elder brother to all those who needed help to better understand Sri Aurobindo's thoughts. Through letters, he was also in touch with people living in the outside world who had an inner aspiration to follow Sri Aurobindo's path. Shall I continue, Monica?
Yes, I think you can continue because this is just like basic introduction. So yeah, let's take it on. Yeah.
Okay. Rishabhchand began writing on the works of the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and the integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo was published in 1953. Perhaps he got the idea of writing an entire book on this subject since he was often explaining the fine points of Sri Aurobindo's writings to so many. This book turned out to be an answer to the real need of people all over the world and served.
Oh, sorry, I think just a second.
Yeah.
I just pressed something. Wait. Yeah. Where is it? Okay, here it is again. Yeah, just putting it on. Yes.
This book turned out to be an answer to the real need of people all over the world and served not only as an introduction to the major works of Sri Aurobindo, but also put this new philosophy into practice. It is not at all surprising that this book was reprinted several times and continues to be available today. In 1960, he started writing the biography of Sri Aurobindo. People often wonder why he took the trouble of writing it when such a good book as A.B. Purani's Life of Sri Aurobindo already existed. There was also Sri Aurobindo on himself for those who wanted to know more about the subject. In the master's own words, the truth is that this was not a personal project initiated by him. The mother herself had asked him to write about the life of Sri Aurobindo, making it clear that she wanted him to focus on the external aspect of his life only. She wanted it to be serialized in the bulletin of the Sri Aurobindo International Center of Education. Knowing his background, it is easy to see why she chose him for this work. Firstly, having studied English literature, he had a mastery over the language and fine style in his expression. Secondly, being a part of the non-cooperation movement in Bengal, he knew thoroughly the context in which Sri Aurobindo had worked to awaken his countrymen to the very idea of wanting to be free. When Sri Aurobindo left Bengal in 1910, Rishabhchand was 10 years old. That followed the air was still vibrant with the energy unleashed by that revolutionary movement. All this Rishabhchand knew firsthand. But there was probably another reason too, for which he was the right person for this work. Rishabhchand had the rare quality of mental sincerity, and his inner being was fully surrendered to the mother. He was the kind of man who would know where to draw the line between Sri Aurobindo's political work and his personal life. A lesser person may have felt tempted to digress and include details about his family or his home life, which are of no importance to one who wants to know about the master's work, be it political or spiritual. Rishabhchand's sensibility allowed him to see the fine line and keep the irrelevant out of the picture. The interesting point to note is that this work was not conceived as a book at the time it was written. The first chapter came out in the August 1960 issue of the Bulletin under the title Sri Aurobindo, His Life and His Work. As we know, the Bulletin is a bilingual journal, and every page written in English has its French translation on the facing page. In order to get the French version or to accompany Rishabhchand's text, the mother sent a copy of his manuscript for translation to her son, André Maurice, who was in France. The mother not only asked the author to write its progress closely, she went through the first chapter before it was printed and asked Nalini Kanta Gupta, her secretary, to read the subsequent chapters before publication. She was ready to answer any question or clarify any doubt that Rishabhchand had. Not only that, she also provided him with an assistant, Tarun Banerjee, who had just finished studies at the Center of Education. Sri Aurobindo has himself written that his life had not been on the surface for people to see. For some people, that has translated itself into a general impression that we should not even try to know what he did before coming to Pondicherry. However, the mother wanted this biography to be written, and in retrospect, we can try to understand why. The most important events of Sri Aurobindo's outer life were those connected with the freedom movement. Today, 100 years after the Alipur bomb case trial, what is so astonishing is that the common man in India has little or no idea of Sri Aurobindo's contribution to the revolution that not only brought liberation to India, but also united the millions who had remained for centuries isolated and unconnected. The mother may have foreseen that the leaders of the country would leave him out of this glorious achievement, and that he would find scant mention in the history books which are used to teach the subject to the children of our country. Perhaps she had also foreseen that he would be misunderstood by many of his own countrymen. Some of his contemporaries believed that he fled the scene of action to hide in Pondicherry, and that the fate of the country did not interest him after that. This could be one of the reasons for their ignoring his advice to accept the Cripps proposal. The misconception in the minds of those leaders has percolated down to our own times. The mother may have left a decade after the master left his body that a record of his great work in the political field had to be written and preserved for posterity. It was because the mother asked him to do this work that Rishabhchand did his own research, gathering material from newspapers and journals. People also wrote to him from West Bengal, giving him the information he needed. The mother had instructed him to tell the story of Sri Aurobindo's life as much as possible in his own words. Not only the facts had to be checked and recorded faithfully, but the tone had to be high and inspiring. Readers who go through this thought-provoking volume may imagine that Rishabhchand left everything and sat down to write the chapters which were being serialized. In reality, as a sincere practitioner of the integral yoga, He continued to look after the furniture department during the day, and in the evening took up his pen to set into words the unique life of his guru. He spent his morning hours thinking of nails and screws, of inches and feet, of paint and sandpaper, of tackling the problems of the lazy worker and the dissatisfied sadhak whose furniture was being repaired or replaced. When the sun had set and in the sky deepened into night, he sat in his room above the furniture department, and now his mind sifted through newspaper articles and reports, weighed one word against another, examined punctuation and syntax, and looked into the past to pick out the images that had created history. When the first chapter came out in the bulletin in August 1960, there was an introductory note. We begin to publish serially from this number the story of Sri Aurobindo's life, the external history of it, for that also is of considerable interest and will be appreciated by many who do not know much about it, who do not know much of it. The writer is a disciple. He has consulted all available sources, and his narration is expected to be as accurate and authentic as possible. The last installment was printed in the February 1971 issue of the bulletin. Even though a simultaneous French translation had come out in the bulletin, a new French adaptation was done by Archaka in 1978 for French readers who were not too familiar with the Indian freedom movement. This book came as a great help to understand Sri Aurobindo in the historical and social context in which he had lived and worked. It was only in 1981, 11 years after the author passed away, that Sri Aurobindo, his life unique, was published in book form. In a single volume, it covers the master's life from his birth to the early beginnings of the ashram. Rishabhchand's life was rich in experience. He had lived in the disciplined world of Jainism, deeply loved English poetry, joined the revolution for independence, delighted in the beauty of fine silks, marched through the maze of business and commerce, been encircled by the living warmth of home and family, and then cast it all away to follow the path of yoga, leading an austere outer life but an abundant inner one. Out of the wealth of all those experiences was formed the mind and the heart and the inner voice, which would one day be chosen by the Divine Mother to tell this unique story of Sri Aurobindo's life and birth of modern India. Thank you so much, Monica. It was really a beautiful experience to read this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reading it. Yes. So I think it was very like a flow. Sunaina Panda. She has done a beautiful job. It was such a flowy article. Did not need to interrupt and very flowy and very crisp and clear. Yeah, and such an inspiration again, and tells us that why he would be the chosen one by the mother. You know what mother was uh, talking about mental sincerity. That he had so much of sincerity that mother knew that he would not make things up or mix things up. So that was very much required if the thing had to be addressed in a most transparent way. Yeah. So anything anyone wants to share? People who have already read about his life or maybe gotten to know him through this or that, or maybe some of us may have actually read this book, Sri Aurobindo, His Life Unique. So anybody wants to share anything is most welcome.
I didn't know about him nor about this book, so now I'm interested.
Beautiful, yes, yes. Me too. I also didn't know. until one day I just stumbled upon it. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, with Mother and Sri Aurobindo, it's like you enter into this vast ocean and you keep exploring, jewels and treasures which keep just coming to you. Really amazing. And so, not only this, the book in front of us, let me just share with you something more. So, Rishabhchand ji has also written some other things which we'll see how many we want to take in our explorations. So, if we go to this website, I'm sure some of us may know about it, motherinshurvindo.in. So, we have all the disciples and their works here. And with Rishabhchand ji, we have the profile which we just read by Sunaina Pandaji, and then we have his books, the books that were being talked about. The first one, The Integral Yoga of Sri Aurobindo. I think maybe at some point of time, if we want, we can touch upon that. Then in the Mother's Light, this is another book. Yeah, so and this book, Sri Aurobindo, His Life Unique, and there are. Yeah, I'm also exploring this. Yeah, The Divine Collaborator. So this would also be written by him. Yes. So I thought maybe for yeah.
No, sorry. The books in this page are they are not available to download, right? You have
So
to
yes,
read it
no,
online.
see on the left side you can see here PDF.
Oh,
So
okay.
here, yeah, you can
I
download
think
it
I
here.
had a problem to do it. I will try.
Anyway, so I'll be anyway sharing the PDF, so you don't need to bother about that. But yeah, if you type the name of the book on Google and say PDF, many times it just pops up and you directly get to the book. So maybe some links at times may do not work. Yeah, that's true. So I thought maybe today we could touch upon this one. Yeah, for example, this one, I don't think this is available for download. Yeah. So on the left, I don't see that icon of PDF. So this would not be available to download. But if we see somewhere else, then we may be able to get the PDF. So this book in the Mother's Light, I was thinking that maybe we could touch upon it today, and in WhatsApp group I can later share the other PDFs. But those are like big books, and it would be nice if we can take some quiet, silent time and at our own pace go through that. So let's read about it. I think again, just to get inspired and to propel ourselves on the journey. It would be interesting to read the preface, I'm thinking, this one. Preface, not preface, yeah, this one, the aspiration and the work. I think it is written by him only, the aspiration and the work, if I'm not wrong. Or maybe it's the mother, yeah. Yes, so this is by the mother. He's sharing, and then here starts his commentary. Yeah, so let's go through this, and anyone who would like to read next is most welcome.
I can. Okay.
Yes, please.
The mother, the aspiration, and the as soon as I was in bed, it seemed to me that I came out of my body and rose straight up above the house. Then above the town very high, I saw myself then clad in a magnificent golden robe, longer than myself. And as I rose, that robe lengthened, spreading in a circle around me to form, as it were, an immense roof over the town. Then I would see coming out from all sides men, women, children, old men, sick men, and happy men. They fathered under the outspread robe, imploring help, recounting their miseries, their sufferings, their pain. In reply, the robe, supple and living, stretched out to them individually, and as soon as they touched it, they were consoled or healed, and entered back into their body happier and stronger than they had ever been before coming out of it. Nothing appeared to me more beautiful, nothing made me more happy, and all the activities of the day seemed to me dull and colorless, without real life, in comparison with this activity of the night, which was for me the true life. Often, as I thus rose, I would see on my left an old man, silent and immobile, who looked at me with a benevolent affection and encouraged me by his presence. This old man, dressed in a long robe of somber violet, was the personification, I knew him later, of him who is called the man of sorrows. Now the profound experience, the almost ineffable reality is translated in my brain by other notions which I can define thus. Many a time during the day and in the night, it seemed to me that that is to say, my consciousness is wholly concentrated in my heart, which is no longer an organ, not even a feeling, but the divine love, impersonal, eternal. Being this love, I myself living in the center of everything upon the whole earth, and at the same time, it seems to me that I am stretching out immense, infinite arms and enveloping with a limitless tenderness all beings clasped, grouped, nestled upon my breast, vaster than the universe. Words are poor and clumsy, O Divine Master, and mental translations are always childish, but my aspiration for thee is constant, and to tell the truth, it is very often thyself and thou alone who livest in this body, an imperfect means of thy manifestations, thy manifestation. May all beings be happy in the peace of thy illumination.
Yeah, so this is written by the mother. So far, what Yuan was just reading. Yeah, this was mother's experience. And we also have Huta Didi's image, like what she created. I think it's oil painting. She made very many paintings by the instruction of the mother. And in one of the paintings, I saw this one, golden robe, and all the people. So although it's not available online anywhere, but it's in the books by Huta Didi, where she has drawn many pictures, uh, also on Savitri, meditations on Savitri, and this one also I saw in one of the books, Mother in a golden robe and with all the people. Yeah. So now Rishabh ji is writing, so maybe we can go ahead with that. So Yuan, if you want, you can continue.
This is one of the earliest, it does not seem to be the very first, spiritual experiences of the mother. It signalized the beginning of a great mission and is eloquently prophetic of the mother's future. Four things stand out in it, arresting our attention and compelling our wonder. The mother's ascent high up into the sky, her putting on of a golden robe, the lengthening and stretching out of the golden robe to all those who had gathered under it, imploring help and consolation, and the mother's delight in this experience. We have here in this experience of the mother when she was a mere child of 13, practically all the basic elements that constitute her life and work in the world, a sort of epitome of the greatest and grandeur of her future creative self-expression. The vision is remarkable. It should have said unique in the history of spiritual lives. For about one whole year, day in and day out, the mother used to have it at the same hour and in the same invariable way. This persistence of the vision, with its details unchanged and its full realization in the mother's subsequent life, challenges the complacent theories of psychoanalysis and proves that the vision was not a conditioned reflex of the individual unconscious, but a prophetic revelation of that which was preparing in the superconscious. Looking at the mother's present activities, one would say that this childhood experience was the blueprint of her later work on earth. The experience is remarkable for another reason. A sequence of its details is flawlessly perfect. It corresponds exactly to that of the spiritual experiences on the path of Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, as promulgated years afterwards. The first movement in the mother's experience is one of ascent. I came out of my body and rose straight up above the house, then above the town very high. It signifies, I suppose, first transcendence of the body consciousness, then of the habitual environmental consciousness, and last of the universal human consciousness. This transcendence of all human formulas and ascent very high gives the mother a secure station in the superconscious. But by transcendence, we do not mean exclusion, nor do we imply a suspension of the physical consciousness, an act of abstraction and a rocket flight into the empyrean of the spirit. The spirit's skies are of course attained. The mother does stand in their serene, shoreless infinity, but not as a naked soul or an unvestured mind. Her experience is much too concrete, much too physically real and definite to permit of such an interpretation. The truth and tenor of her whole spiritual life have been consistently characterized by an unfailing, downright practicality. Her ascent is an ascent of her whole integrated being, including the subtle physical. It is only the outer physical body that remains below, and the lengthening of her robe and the touching of it by those who implore her help and consolation, as we shall see presently, are as real, as vivid, as distinctive and decisive an experience as any we get by means of our physical senses. The mother does not regard any realization as complete so long as it is not rendered into the terms of the physical consciousness and possessed by it as a hard, solid, indubitable fact.
Yeah,
Mm.
thank you. So first of all, I think it's so beautiful because this prayer, it's like what we read from the mother is part of this prayer, February 22nd, 1914. And how, ordinarily we would not even see that each sentence has its own, like deep story, which is actual, not like a story, but it has a meaning. Each sentence has a meaning, and that's what he's sharing with us. So first he takes up the mother's ascent high up into the sky, and then he's talking about that. And otherwise, we would have, one doesn't really get to that depth if not for such an explanation. And I think this is also very beautiful that unless any realization that we are having spiritually, if it's not translated into action, it's not a true realization. Many a times, as practitioners, we are wondering that there is a gap between what we think we understand and how we relate in the world, and that gap we are trying to bridge mostly. So in our meditations, we may be really having a good time or whatever good time means to us. And but the moment we begin to interact with people and at workplaces, at home, in family, our relations, suddenly as if all that knowledge and wisdom, I don't know where it goes away. But that just tells me that it's not a practical realization. So that's what Mother is sharing here, that she does not regard any realization as complete so long as it is not rendered into the terms of physical consciousness and possessed by it as a hard, solid, and indubitable fact. And as he was sharing, that this we see in her life, in Mother's life, that how each and every person touched by the Mother, like what the experience of this expanding robe, and each and every person touched by her name, even by chance stumbled upon. Many times we have stories where we just stumble upon, the name or some books and the words. But it's, as we understand in Savitri, there is nothing by chance. The chance arrangements are actually they are done so that they appear like chance. There is nothing by chance, and there is no coincidence. So the people we have met and the the books we may have stumbled upon. So that, like that, we may have just stumbled upon, like, okay, somewhere we read Mother, and then we became curious, and then we started to, go deeper. So all the lives touched by the Mother, she took in her embrace, and that's what this. Uh, and this was a very physically concrete experience for those of us getting in touch, and that's what he's sharing towards the end here in the first paragraph. That her Yes, the lengthening of her robe and the touching of it by those who implored her help and consolation, as we shall see presently, like, people in touch with Mother's consciousness there when he was writing it, are as real, as vivid, as distinctive and decisive an experience as any we get by the means of our physical senses. So it's a concrete touch. It's not like some touch somewhere which does nothing. It's a concrete touch which affects your consciousness. It's not something intangible. And that's where the power lies. That's where the power lies. And with Mother, Mother also talks about, she gives a note in her own handwriting where she says that Sri Aurobindo's words are not a teaching or not a mere direction, but they are decisive action taking place. It is taking place. It's not somewhere in theory or mental, imagination. Yeah, so this, I found it very uplifting, this thing. Yeah, so anyone wants to, anything needs to be added on. So this is just the first bit that we read, the Mother's ascent high up into the sky, based on the prayers of Feb 22, 1914. So if anyone wants to share anything so far, we can take it up, or else we go further. Okay, so in that case, we can go further. So would anyone else want to read, or uh, if anyone is inclined, you can take it up, the second movement. Or if not, then Joan, you can continue if it's okay with you. Yeah,
Okay, you don't want to do it?
I can do it, but it would be nice if.
I can do it too.
Yeah.
I'll do
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The second movement is the assumption of the supernature or the supramental nature as represented by the putting on of a magnificent golden robe. I saw myself then, says the mother, clad in a magnificent golden robe. The word then in the sentence is very important as it emphasizes the true order of the movements. First, ascent, and then the assumption of the golden robe. It is a commonplace of Sri Aurobindo's yoga that there can be no assumption of the supernature or para prakriti without ascent. The third movement is the lengthening and stretching out of the golden robe, supple and living to each individual of the crowd that had gathered under it. The lengthening and stretching are the movement of descent consequent upon the ascent. An important thing to be noted here is that it is not the mother descending, but only her golden robe, which symbolizes the supernature. The central consciousness of man, once it has traveled beyond the borders of even the spiritual mind, finds a stable base above in the transcendent and a tranquil, luminous poise in it, and never spirals back. Na punar vartate into the world of the lower energies. It is the divine nature assumed after the ascent that descends as a vehicle of the divine grace to help and heal humanity. This movement illustrates the mother's role so well indicated in many of her later prayers of the mediatrix between the supreme transcendent above and the material world below. The stretching out of the golden robe is a significant gesture of the divine grace leaning down to succor suffering humanity. It is interesting to note again that the men, women, children, old men, sick men, unhappy men gathered under the robe after it had lengthened, spreading in a circle around the mother to form, as it were, an immense roof over the town. It is always indeed the grace that acts first, the divine love that leans down first and exerts a secret, silent pressure from above, and the human aspiration and appeal are but a reflex action from below.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very intense.
Mm.
I think we have to read again and again to understand. It is so important, so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Ascent and descent. How many times we read it, and there is so much yet to understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think not trying to really make an
Monica, this
yes,
line
yes,
is,
Sadhguru. Yes.
yeah. Sorry, you were saying something. You tell me.
No, no, please go ahead. You go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. So this line, this movement illustrates the mother's role so well indicated in many of her later prayers of the mediatrix between the supreme transcendent above and the material world below. So I think this line comes in Savitri also, no? This adoration of the Divine Mother in that chapter.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. So in fact,
Mm.
I was thinking that we could actually take up those lines. I'm so glad that
Yeah.
you thought about that. Yeah.
So can we read that?
Yeah, why not? Just a second. I'll just pull it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know the exact page?
No.
Okay, let me just find it. It will take a moment.
Yeah. But it comes in adoration of the Divine Mother.
Yeah, there I am. I'm just finding. So I'll ask you, I'll just put it in front and then we can take it up from there. So
Yeah.
we can also, a mother might brooded upon the world, a consciousness revealed its marvelous front. So either we can take in from here or, yeah, who mediatrix binds earth to the supreme. Here
Yeah,
we
we'll
have.
read it from the previous line. It'll make more
Yes,
sense.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So let's see.
A mother might brooded upon.
Mm, okay, so let's start from here, this page, 312. We can start from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who wants to go ahead is welcome.
If nobody is reading, then I can.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
A love that bore the cross of pain with joy, you demonized the sorrow of the world, made happy the weight of long, unending time, the secret court of God's felicity, affirming in life a hidden ecstasy. It held the spirit to its miraculous course, carrying immoral values to the hours. It justified the labor of the sons. For one was there supreme behind the God, a mother might brooded upon the world, a consciousness revealed its marvelous front, transcending all that is, denying none, imperishable above our falling heads. He felt a rapturous and unstumbling force. The undying truth appeared, the enduring power of all that here is made and then destroyed, the mother of all godheads and all strengths, who, mediatrix, binds earth to the supreme. The enigma seized that rules our nature's night. The covering nations was unmasked and slain. Its mind of error was stripped off from things, and the dull moods of its perverting will, illumined by her all seeing identity, knowledge and ignorance could strive no more. No longer could the titan opposites, antagonist poles of the world's artifice, impose the illusion of their twofold screen, throwing their figures between us and her. The wisdom was near, distinguished by its own works, of which the darkened universe is the Rome. No more existence seemed an aimless fall. Extinction was no more the sole release. The hidden word was found. The long sought clue revealed was the meaning of our spirit's birth, condemned to an imperfect body and mind in the inconscience of material things and the indignity of mortal life. A heart was felt in the spaces wide and bare. A burning love from wide spiritual founts annulled the sorrow of the ignorant depths. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. A life from beyond grew conqueror here of death. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. So beautiful. A life from beyond grew conqueror here of death. To err no more was natural to mind. Wrong could not come where all was light and love. The formless and the formed were joined in her. Immensity was exceeded by a look. A face revealed the crowded infinite, incarnating inexpressibly in her limbs, the boundless joy the blind world forces seek. Her body of beauty mooned the seas of bliss. At the heads she stands of birth and toil and fate. In their slow round, the cycles turn to her call. Alone her hands can chain time's dragon base. Here is the mystery the night conceals. The spirit's alchemist energy is hers. She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire, the luminous heart of the unknown is she. A power of silence in the depths of God. She is the force, the inevitable word, the magnet of our difficult ascent, the sun from which we kindle all our suns, the light that leans from the unrealized vasts, the joy that beckons from the impossible, the might of all that never yet came down. All nature dumbly calls to her alone to heal with her feet the aching throb of life and break the seals on the dim soul of man and kindle her fire in the closed heart of things. And here shall be one day her sweetness's home. All contraries prepare her harmony. Towards her our knowledge climbs, our passion gropes. In her miraculous rapture we shall dwell. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Her clasp shall turn to ecstasy, our pain. Our self shall be one with all through her. Of course, one can continue, but let's just take delight in these lines. And this is what we were reading, was being directed. And I'm sure all of us have come across again and again also that Sri Aurobindo also said that for us there is only one mantra, which is the mother, and he did not give any other mantra. And although later on mother did use the mantra and shared that if Sri Aurobindo was at this time, then he would also have uh, talked about the importance of a mantra. But even then, the mantra that we have, the simplest one, uh, Ma, I think that really is the golden key. We all Those of us who are connected with the mother and Sri Aurobindo, they know that she is the golden key. And if we can just unite our consciousness in the mother, that just is enough. And first of all, it's a long moment to moment journey, because many a times we disconnect. Although mother says that I am here, but you go anywhere else, go somewhere else. So that's the sadhana that we have to do, that to totally and solely rely on the mother for everything and anything, and to unite our consciousness in our thoughts, feelings, each and every thought and feeling just turns to the mother. And all of us know that we have a long way to go. Uh, we may have started the process, but we know that we have a long way to go. And she is the golden key. She is the mediator between what we are seeking and where we are. She is the golden bridge. She is the key, as we were reading mediatrix. She is the path. Without her, it's impossible to reach where we want to reach. So suffering, and this, all of us who are connected with the mother, I think we can vouch, suffering was lost in her immortal smile. And this is a physical realization. That's what Rishabhchand ji was sharing, that mother always said that if there is any realization, it has to be physically, tangible by the senses. So all of us, even now, when we look at mother's picture, when we go to the samadhi or look at mother's picture, we may not have really seen the mother physically, but even that picture is not just a picture. We know that it does something to us. So suffering was lost in her immortal smile. The boundless joy the blind world forces seek, her body of beauty mooned the seas of bliss. Alone, her hands can change time's dragon base. She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire. And she is the psychic fire in us. And that's what we read also in Mother and Sri Aurobindo, that when the world, the manifestation and the creation went haywire and there was some trouble, that, oh, everything has gone into darkness. So it was the Divine Mother who said that, okay, let me stoop down, let me go down into this darkness. And she put herself in each one of us. And that's what we call the psychic being, the psychic fires, the inner fires. So whenever we feel that maybe we are away from the mother, if we just know that she's all the time, she has put herself in us, what more can she do? No? So she's with us 24/7 and never away from us. If only we silence our surface chatter and can get in touch with that inner flame which she has put in each one of us. She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire. And this is also when Priyanka was reading, this is so beautiful. The magnet of our difficult essence. So as if somebody is climbing, and in climbing, it's a lot of effort that is required. You get tired at times you frustrated and the body gives up. But it's like a magnet is put where you have to reach. And she is the magnet. She pulls us up. She is the magnet of our difficult ascent. So we can't help but get pulled if we have mother with us. The magnet of our difficult ascent. And the ascent is difficult. All of us know. At times it becomes very simple, but at times it is very difficult. We really struggle to get some strength. The magnet of our difficult ascent, the sun from which we kindle all our suns. So whatever little light we see here and there, light of inspiration, that is just a little trickle of what the source is. The sun from which we kindle all our suns. The light that leans from the unrealized vast, the joy that beckons from the impossible, the might of all that never yet came down. All nature dumbly calls to her alone. So in an unconscious ignorance, all that we are seeking, even if we talk about our own self, all that we are seeking is contentment, aren't we? We are all seeking contentment and fulfillment. But that seeking is there in unconsciousness. We are unconscious what we truly, truly want. And yet, even if I am an addict and I'm addicted to this or that, if I'm being obsessed for this and that, what am I seeking? I'm seeking contentment. So unconsciously we are all seeking. So dumbly also, this also would refer to this the dumbness of the matter, that it can't, the expression is not there, and yet it is seeking that light, and it's seeking that realization which only the mother will provide. All nature dumbly calls to her alone to heal with her feet the aching throb of life and break the seals on the dim soul of man and kindle her fire in the closed heart of things. And this is a decisive action again, that all here shall be one day her sweetness's home. It's a decisive certitude that yes, now the supermind is here and it has to happen. So it's not like it. And mother also said that there would not be any world war. There would not be the requirement of any more wars. In her miraculous rapture we shall dwell. Her clasp shall turn to ecstasy our pain. Our self shall be one self with all through her. Again. So she is the key. If only we can convince ourselves, because many a times things happen in our life and our conviction goes here and there. So if only we can get convinced, and if we can begin this practice of uniting with mother's consciousness in us, which is there all the time, life would actually become a little lighter, simpler, a little more joyful also, and then we can spread that joy everywhere. And there would be, I think, many more uh, other places also where we can relate with what we were reading today. But yeah, I think for now this much seems more than enough, and we can maybe immerse in this for today. For those of us who have Savitri with them, maybe we can read. Thanks to Sardaji for pointing it out. Maybe we can go to this, the Adoration of the Divine Mother, book 3, and yeah, maybe enjoy, take delight in these words. So today, maybe we stop here, and then the next time we'll start from where we left. So just continuing with what we were reading. Yeah. If anyone wants to share anything before we end, you're welcome.
It was very interesting, very interesting comments about the text of the mother. One little thing I kept on thinking, the mother talks about a figure of an old man of sorrow, like wearing a violet robe or something like that. And I was thinking in Savitri, it talks about the mother or the Madonna of sorrow. Like it caught my attention. I will I will try to figure out, but just a detail I'm thinking about. Very beautiful, very interesting. Thank you for.
Yes, yeah, it is very interesting. So I think this is what you are maybe pointing out. I don't know about, yeah, the word Madonna also comes, but here on the page,
Yeah.
on page 505, Triple Soul Forces, here also we see voice of a tortured titan, once a god. I am the man of sorrows. I am he who is nailed on the white cross of the universe. So here also this comes, and maybe we can go through this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And please share with us the PDF.
I will do that. Yes. Yeah, I will do that. Yes. So thank you, everyone. And before we end, just taking one last moment in silence to just dedicate and share the merit that we may have accumulated for this collective reflection, delight, and understanding, sharing it with all the sentient beings. May our hearts be fulfilled in the divine. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you. It was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.